Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Thanks to the more relaxed attitude that the Galactic Republic had on law enforcement, there were plenty of individuals in the galaxy who made a living as bounty hunters and helped keep order, especially in the chaotic Outer Rim. Now, we often hear stories of impressive individuals like the Fett, Din Djarin, Cad Bane, and some other top-tier bounty hunting pros, but this was an industry that paid well, and it was a part of a wider economy that lacked job opportunities. So you have a situation where you have plenty of individuals who want to do this job but lack the skill and experience to actually succeed in it. And so today we'll be taking a look at some bounty hunters you probably have never heard of, and that's because they are absolutely terrible at their job. You rarely have a bounty hunter who lacks skill but has plenty of experience. Equally as important for a bounty hunter is a keen sense of what is dangerous and what is not, and also a very honest assessment of one's own ability. Confidence can kill. TORO CALICAN was just some no-name from Corellia who left the Corps to seek fortune and adventure in the Outer Rim. He seems like a crafty individual who's used to preying on dim-witted individuals for his own advantage. Corellia wasn't the nicest place to grow up on after all, and if he was a street urchin like Han Solo, he'll most likely need to have developed some street smarts in order to survive. His decision to take on a bounty for Fennec Shand was pretty optimistic for an individual like him. He clearly was out of his league and not very well equipped. All he had was a hand blaster and a speeder, which definitely wouldn't do much against a top-tier assassin armed with a marksman rifle. But TORO CALICAN is intelligent enough to recognize Din Djarin when he walks into the bar as an amazing asset to have on his side. You probably can recognize that he's wearing Beskar armor, which is basically indestructible. Well, in the mission, TORO proves to be pretty inexperienced though, and a bit too brash, and overall not all that prepared for the job at hand. Luckily, Din Djarin and his Beskar take the brunt of Fennec Shand's anger when they engage her, and TORO ends up getting his bounty. However, when left alone with Fennec, the assassin convinces TORO to try and take out Din Djarin and retrieve the much bigger bounty on Little Gogurt. TORO is convinced and also smart enough to realize that he can't trust Fennec not to shoot him in the back and shoots her instead. Although he even messes that up because Fennec Shand is saved eventually by Boba Fett. And if TORO CALICAN actually survived this mission, well, Fennec Shand definitely would have gotten revenge on him. The final mistake TORO makes is thinking he has a chance going up against a fully armored Mandalorian like Din Djarin. He ends up dying as a result. Boba Fett might be the most recognizable bounty hunter in the galaxy, but he does it all while hiding his face behind a Beskar helmet and armor. This, of course, is all a part of his image and brand, but that's also something that's relatively easy to imitate. JODO was a member of Alliance Spec Ops. He was a highly trained soldier and would naturally progress to the bounty hunting industry as so many others in his line of work would do. Something that was quite common in the bounty hunting industry at this time was for individuals to dress like Boba Fett and arm themselves like Boba Fett. This mimicry was not only an testament to Boba Fett's abilities and success on the battlefield, but also due to clientele taste and familiarity with the Boba Fett brand. The thing is, when Boba Fett fell into that Sarlacc pit, Cass completely crossed the line by painting his armor to look exactly like Boba Fett's. Eventually, he would even pretend to be Fett and start taking much higher prices for bounties and gained access to top-tier jobs in the galaxy, impersonating the legendary Boba Fett. Now, when Boba Fett returns out of the Sarlacc pit in Legends, he finds out about this imposter bounty hunter. Boba Fett was not happy about this theft of identity, plus he didn't want people to know that he was alive in the first place. And so he ends up quickly killing and defeating JODO Cass and leaving him to die. ONCA and BULDUGA were supposed to be a legendary bounty hunting brother duo. But here's the thing, guys, about Ithorians. They are super slow. Like, they're functioning at a quarter of the speed as everyone else's. Now, obviously, bounty hunting is not just about reaction speed and how quick you can draw your blaster. Having good intelligence, patience, and planning is also very important. But at the end of the day, a bounty hunter who has a severe weakness won't last long when going up against serious competition. When Count Dooku holds a bounty hunting competition for a very lucrative contract he was giving out, ONCA and BULDUGA are invited, and quickly, they're found lacking when compared to some of the other bounty hunters. When Cad Bane, who in my opinion is the best pure bounty hunter in Star Wars, sees the brothers, he immediately is drawn to BULDUGA's hat, which is exactly the same thing as Cad Bane's. Cad Bane asks the Ithorian where he got it, and the Ithorian, who's a little bit spooked, immediately draws his blaster. Now, BULDUGA is supposed to be the faster gunslinger out of the two, but he is ridiculously slow. Cad Bane outdraws him easily and ends up killing him before the competition even starts. There were actually rumors that BULDUGA was masquerading across the galaxy, pretending to sort of be like Cad Bane. He had the same kind of red eye covers and the same hat. And he was also passing himself off as a gunslinger, which he clearly wasn't. His brother ONCA becomes the next bounty hunter to perish in the game. Ithorians just aren't really good at platforming or avoiding lasers either. Some species are just not meant to be bounty hunters. I really like our next bounty hunter, SERIPAS, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's good at his job. When you first see him, he just kind of looks like a droid bounty hunter who's heavily armored and heavily equipped with weapons. But this was actually a small mini exoskeleton or mobile suit that was designed by SERIPAS to hide his species' tiny size. See, SERIPAS was actually a Sauri and only 0.74 meters in height. On one mission, SERIPAS joins the noble bounty hunter Sugi and a few others in an effort to defend a small village from some pirates. While preparing for the mission, SERIPAS' real size is revealed to Ahsoka Tano, who assures him that he shouldn't be self-conscious about his size. Which, of course, is your typical terrible advice from a Jedi who has magical powers and can, lift things with their mind. Size actually does matter in the bounty hunting profession because physical strength and ability also matters here. Some better advice from Ahsoka Tano would be to, figure out how to use your smaller size to an advantage, like becoming more stealthy and ninja-like. SERIPAS' main problem is that he really does depend on his armor way too heavily to survive, and unfortunately that armor is just not that robust, and when it's destroyed, the tiny bounty hunter has no real ability to fight back. He does have a lot of courage though, I'll give him that. GREEDO is perhaps one of the most famous side characters in all of Star Wars, and his sad claim to fame is losing a blaster draw-off against the smuggler Han Solo. You see, ever since GREEDO was a little child, he did not have good judgment. As a kid on Tatooine, he would constantly find himself in scuffles with a future Sith Lord known as Anakin Skywalker. And when he became old enough, GREEDO immediately became a thug and a self-proclaimed bounty hunter, even though he clearly lacked the intelligence and skills to be one. It was difficult for individuals like GREEDO to get any jobs because of his terrible reputation. And the jobs that he did manage to retrieve, he often messed up, like when he tried to kidnap the daughters of Chairman Papanuida of Pantora. Still, GREEDO for some reason saw himself as a big shot bounty hunter. That might have been because he technically was amongst the roster of bounty hunters used by Jabba the Hutt. Even then, he was considered a lower tier operator and completely expendable. When fellow Rhodian bounty hunter Niche was assigned to kill GREEDO for being an idiot, basically. Now, Niche doesn't actually want to do this job, so he hires another bounty hunter known as Spruce Warhog Goa to do it instead. But Goa doesn't want to do the job either, so he just convinces GREEDO to try and basically take out Han Solo all by himself. Spruce Warhog Goa clearly knows in this case that GREEDO does not have a chance against the much more talented Han Solo. MORALO EVAL was an outlier for his species, the Findians. He displayed sociopathic tendencies and violent behavior from a very young age. He even killed his own mother because apparently he was kind of bored. While some bounty hunters do have similar psychological profiles, it does not necessarily translate into being a successful bounty hunter. Because of his society's more peaceful tendencies, EVAL is not thrown into a supermax prison. Instead, he's given mental health treatment and psychoanalysis. And of course, he escapes during this and goes on to be a serial killer. MORALO EVAL would eventually be chosen by Count Dooku to lead a plan to kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. Furthermore, he was chosen to design the competition that the Ithorian bounty hunting brothers we just talked about died in. Known as The Box, this was sort of like a Squid Games kind of event but on steroids and for bounty hunters only. MORALO EVAL was a mastermind behind the controls, and quickly his design weeded out the weaker competitors. But when it came down to the final few contestants, Count Dooku has MORALO EVAL go up against Rocco Hardeen, one of the bounty hunters in the contest. He wants to see if MORALO EVAL has more skills beyond just murdering innocent people and designing death traps. It turns out MORALO EVAL is just a serial killer and not very capable of fighting people who actually know he's trying to kill them and want to fight back. I mean, sure, Rocco Hardeen is actually Obi-Wan Kenobi with some stupid plastic surgery, but MORALO EVAL is worse than just a bad fighter. He's a complete coward. CHATA HYOKL, the bounty hunter, was a disgrace to his people, the Selkath, an aquatic whale-like race that was pacifist in nature. But honestly, even amongst other bounty hunters, CHATA was not seen as a very honorable individual or good at his job. During the Clone Wars, the Republic Senate was in heavy debate about increasing the size of the clone army and getting a new line of credit from the central banks. Senators who were opposed to increased militarization were targeted secretly by Count Dooku. The Separatist leader would hire CHATA and another bounty hunter known as Rabanino to basically intimidate senators. Their first target was Anaconda Farr, but their brutal assault doesn't do much to convince Farr from changing his position. And so Count Dooku sent the two bounty hunters after Padme Amidala. While walking home from a late meeting with other representatives, Padme is chased down by the two bounty hunters. CHATA pulls a blade on the senator and is about to slash her throat when two Coruscant police droids step in and stop them. The two bounty hunters manage to disable the droids, but that gives Padme just enough time to commandeer a speeder bike and get some distance away from the two. CHATA grapples to Padme's speeder bike, which is actually just a very terrible idea, and he ends up getting towed behind her at high speeds. Padme slams the fishy bounty hunter through a variety of obstacles and douses him with engine grease, and finally manages to dislodge him by slamming him into a light fixture. I know Padme Amidala is supposed to be a badass and a very competent fighter, but CHATA is not only a disgrace to the bounty hunter name, he's actually very stupid as well. Next up, the Selkath attempts to attack Bail Organa in his parking garage. The Alderaanian ends up fighting back and is injured when he attempts to escape on his speeder. CHATA and his partner are finally captured by Coruscant security. So as you can see in the Star Wars galaxy, it's not that hard to find a competent bounty hunter. But the incompetent ones you've probably never heard of because, well, they just don't last very long in the industry. Now let me know in the comment section below if you've run into any other incompetent bounty hunters that's not on this list. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.